listening to WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with a global soul. Our theme music is a clip of Summer Nights by the Eric Jones Trio. It's provided by our friend Mark Chesanow, who plays with the Eric Jones Trio every Thursday and Sunday at Good Times Jazz Bar downtown.
Hey everyone, welcome to Arts on the Air. I'm Tamara Garvey.
And I'm Melissa Taylor.
Thanks for returning to our show. We appreciate it. For our second show.
Yeah, I mean, if y'all are listening again, God bless you.
Well, today we have... Tell us about our guest today, Melissa.
Well, we have Jamie Jones, who is a comic artist. And I'm going to go ahead and apologize ahead of time if the banter gets out of control, because... things happen.
You guys are old friends.
Yes, we know each other. We have a rhythm, so
How long have you known each other?
About a year.
About a year.
Okay.
Yeah, about a year.
All right.
So welcome, Jamie.
Hey.
Hi.
Hello.
We'll bring you into the conversation.
It's great to be here.
Instead of talking about you like you're not.
Please continue to talk about me. That's the thing I want.
Tell me how awesome I am.
Yes.
It's just me interviewing Melissa about how she knows you.
Yes, and you're just here to watch.
I'm here for it. I love it.
Okay. Well, so you just actually recently celebrated your 1-year anniversary of having moved to Savannah.
Yes, my Savannah-versary.
Oh, your Savannah-versary.
You're
Yes.
so new to Savannah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just a little nugget. You're so pure.
I am. That's right.
So where are you from originally, and what drew you to Savannah?
I was born in Vero Beach, Florida, which is nowhere, Florida. It's on the beach, which is nice. And then for college, I moved to Tampa. So I was in the Tampa Bay area for about 10 years before I moved here in search of a dream. No, it's honestly in search of like some more artistic art community that was more comics driven. There are a lot of people. I was living in St. Pete. St. Pete's a great art town, art city, but not a lot of cartoonists and not a lot of people who I could just talk to about making comics.
Yeah.
And now that is not a problem.
There's so many people to talk to about making comics.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, tens and tens of them are listening right now.
all 10 of them.
Yeah. So, did you go to school for art? Like, what's your background?
No.
No.
I didn't go to school for art. I went to school for English, and then I got a specialization in creative writing because I'm smart and knew I wanted an English degree, but I didn't want to have to write research papers.
Fair.
And they were like, hey, you can still get an English degree and just write stories. And I said, sign me up for that.
That sounds amazing.
That sounds a lot easier than dissecting, I don't know.
Yeah, like...
Tolstoy.
We don't even know. That's how hard it is.
Like,
Right.
What was the author's intent? No one cares.
I don't, yeah.
So you also have done some acting, I know. How did that come about?
Well, acting is the thing that I was doing before I was doing comics.
Yeah.
I was a professional actor for 10 years when I was in Tampa.
Oh, cool.
A lot of stage things. But I've been acting since I was in 6th grade. I did my first play, and then
What
it just
was your
continued.
first play?
Into the Woods Junior.
Ooh. And what part?
I was Cinderella's prince.
Okay. I thought you were going to say I was Cinderella. I was
I
like,
was
you know
Cinderella.
what? Muzzle top.
Yes. Yeah. They were real progressive over in Vero Beach, Florida.
Indeed, they're known for being progressive.
Yeah.
Is there a big theater scene in, did you say Tampa?
There is. It's a really good, tight community there of a lot of professional theaters. So if you play your cards right, you can bounce around from like theater to theater to theater and company to company to company. And I also did set painting. Okay. So I was painting sets and acting. And that was kind of my entire life.
Nice. What was your favorite part that you've played on stage?
Oh, damn. I don't know.
Was it Cinderella?
It was Cinderella. That's hard. I did Vanya, Sonia, Masha, and Spike, and I was Spike in that play, and that was great. That was the best shape I've ever been in my entire life.
Yeah.
I looked great.
If you do say so yourself.
Well, I had to. Yeah, no, I was like in my underwear the entire show, so I worked out a lot.
Yeah. It's a bit daunting to know you're
Yeah.
going to be on stage in front of people in very little.
In very little.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like tight little black underwear. There's nothing.
No. Oh. Okay.
You gotta take a moment for that. Everybody, we're taking a break from Melissa right now.
So how did you get from there into comics? Like what's the connection?
So I started reading comics when I was 17. And I worked at a comic shop, like helping out in college.
Wow.
I started working at a comic shop in Tampa. I was their in-house artist for, 5 years, 4 years. I don't know the timeline. It all, it all kind of blurs together. But I basically had office hours at that shop and practiced drawing and drew for people and did whatever they wanted me to draw, and that was that. That was
Okay.
good.
So you didn't really have a background in art prior to that?
I mean, I drew.
Yeah. I mean, was that something you did a lot of, though?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That sounds like such a coveted job to try to get. I mean, that's kind of amazing.
I got lucky. My entire life has just been like a series of very fortunate
a
events.
gog.
Yeah.
I'm just in the right place at the right time.
No, I mean, but it's just because looking at your work, like, you're incredibly talented, and you have a very, like, classical sort of comic style. Like, it reminds me of, like, old school strips. Like, I mean, so the fact that you didn't necessarily go to school for art, that this is just a talent that you have worked at, like, I think that's impressive because, I mean, you have all the people that are like, teach me to draw, but they don't want to actually do the work to actually learn how to draw.
Yeah.
So you've done that, though.
Right. Yeah. I always say that art and drawing is a skill. It has nothing. Talent is what talent is. I believe talent is proclivity. So I have the proclivity to just sit down and draw for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And that leads to the skill that I have in figure construction and all of that. All of the things that people look and go, oh, that's a pretty drawing. You can draw. So that's really what it comes down to. Is I just sat down and drew constantly.
Yeah. So you just put the work in.
I just put the work in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you work digitally or do you work traditionally?
I work traditionally. I color digitally.
Okay.
Because that makes the process go a lot faster. As daunting as it is to just look at a computer all day. I can't look at a computer all day. I get tired.
Yeah.
But I am pen and ink. I have a brush that I like, that I dip in ink and draw.
All right. Well, the nice thing about that, though, is that you have, like, originals of, like, your pages and stuff, which is super cool. Like, I mean, because when you work digitally, I mean, I guess you could print that out, but that's not the same
Yeah,
thing.
there's never like a painting.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Now, because of hosting Drink and Draw and talking to SCAD students, they all draw digitally, and it doesn't compute. There are times when I'll just be like, hey, give me your iPad, I want to noodle around on this, and it never feels right.
Yeah.
So like they're Drink and Draw and they're drawing on like a Wacom tablet.
They're just drawing on iPads, most of them.
Yeah, with an Apple
the
Pencil.
new
yeah.
fancy iPad.
Yeah.
It's cool. Mm-hmm. I want to play with it more, but I also have no desire to.
Right.
I like a brush.
Are you the only one at the Drink and Draws who's drawing like that?
No, there are a few who still draw traditionally, but a lot of the younger wave of artists, they're all drawing digitally. There's a lot of older artists too that are drawing digitally too.
That's so interesting. I didn't know that.
But
Yeah. So what's your favorite part of the process? Like pencils, inking? I know we were talking about it earlier. You don't love coloring. So.
No. Because it just is tedious. At a certain point. Drawing is a little tedious at a certain point too, right? I really like the thumbnailing writing stage. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite. That's, I think, also where I'm most comfortable. Just sitting down and whipping out pages really fast. Mm-hmm. Working more on intuition than on actual tight anatomy. Mm-hmm. I like that a lot more than just sitting and drawing.
Yeah. Well, so when you're working on like a book, do you do multiple sets of thumbnails for things, or do you just kind of work it out as you're going and just do a set for...
I will end up drawing... So my scripting is in comics form, so I will draw out my script and just write the dialogue as I see fit.
So visual scripting.
Visual scripting.
Okay.
That is the greatest term for what it is. So visual scripting.
Okay.
So yeah, when I visually script,
Melissa, you invented an art term.
I don't know. I took that from Tim.
Well, Tim would know. Mm-hmm. When I visually script, it is multiple different passes, constantly changing. It starts off in a little sketchbook, and I'm just whipping out stuff, and that's really a thumbnail. Like, we're talking thumb size storytelling. By the time I get to the visual script, I'm working in spreads, so the left and right side of the page when you have the book open, and that's just on 8.5 by 11 paper landscape.
Okay.
I print off my template, and that's probably the third time that I've drawn it.
Okay.
And then that I take into the penciling stage, tighten everything up, make sure it works, adjust things accordingly. Mm-hmm. Sometimes pages just get changed entirely, and then inking but once it hits pencils, it's probably going to be the same.
Okay.
Throughout, unless I royally mess up.
And do you hand letter your work too?
Not anymore.
No.
I made a font of my handwriting.
Nice.
Oh, that's so cool.
So
Tim made a font of my handwriting because he's like, mine's terrible.
it's the way to go.
Yeah.
And because then you can adjust dialogue later. Mm-hmm. Because of the way I script, there are a lot of times where I will leave room on the page for changing of dialogue. Here's placeholder dialogue, and then I'll realize, I said this at the end of the book. Let me reference it at the front of the book so I look like a genius at the end of it, right? so
it looks like I had
it in my head. Yeah, exactly.
Can I ask you, I was curious, since you have your original degree in English and now you're in this art format where you're both drawing and writing, do you feel like that the writing part of your comic pages is like, I don't know, kind of unique and stands out as opposed to other comic book artists who maybe don't have any English like formal training like that? I
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to be a particularly great writer to write comics.
Okay.
I think that's universal. I don't think you have to be a great artist to draw comics either. That's the kind of the beauty of comics.
Well, I feel like with comics, like a great story, like good storytelling can carry less good art, and great art can carry a story that's a little weak. It's like one or the other has to be really good, but if both are sort of mediocre, it just doesn't work. Like,
that makes sense.
What do you think?
Yeah. I'm much more forgiving in comics.
Okay.
Especially if it's one person doing everything.
Okay, that's fair.
So I don't know. I don't know how much my degree affects I will say I'm very good at throwing things out. Right? That's what my degree did for me. It was like, hey, this stinks. And you go, okay. And I just cut it, and I don't, without any qualms. I could love it. I could love the beat, but I'm so detached from the product
Maybe it's because you trust that you'll be able to come up with something else pretty easily. It wasn't
Well,
like
maybe.
one idea that
You're
you'll ever
just
have.
not precious about
I'm just
editing.
not precious about anything.
Yeah.
That's the problem. That's the problem with school. Is it breaks the preciousness of your own art out of you.
Do you find that? Do you think going to school for art made you less
yeah,
precious?
I can see that.
Yeah.
I will say I went home recently. I was at my mom's house and she had me clean out a bunch of stuff and I had bins and bins of old art that I had been, I guess, saving for whatever reason. And I was like, trash, 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 trash. And everything just got thrown away.
Tim's parents made him clean out a whole bunch of stuff from their house as well, and that was just a treasure trove for me. I found all kinds of wondrous things, but he was not precious at all.
Mine was like enormous pieces of paper because it was from foundations classes, so it was a lot of, still lifes and practice of perspective and things that for some reason I had kept right after school that now did not need at all.
No, these were like, second grade.
My mom has a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. It was a different kind of art.
But he was looking and getting a lot of ideas and being like, I could return to this. I was onto something.
Yeah. Well, and I also learned that he really wished he was named Dwight. So there's a whole nother
Interesting.
story.
I'll have to bring that up too.
Yeah, talk about him.
Before The Office? Like, it predated The
Oh,
Office?
yeah, there was a cowboy picture, and he wanted to be a cowboy named Dwight.
Well, that's his next
It's a dream.
bestseller. Dwight the Cowboy.
Dwight the Cowboy. So because you write and draw both, do you prefer the art or do you prefer the scripting? Like, what is your favorite part of it?
Gosh, I don't know. It's at a certain point it just becomes storytelling, and it just it doesn't.
It just flows together.
It just flows together.
Yeah.
When you're working on it for so long, it's just like things are just there. And I try to always write something while I'm drawing. So I'll be writing the next book while I'm drawing the current book. So that's always... So it never really feels like I'm not doing one or the other.
Yeah. How long does it take you, like, start to finish on a project, generally?
Oh, gosh. I don't know. That... I can easily draw 3 pages a day. 4 pages a day if I'm, like, in the zone.
So when you say draw, like...
Pencil and ink.
Pencil and ink.
I could easily do that.
Okay.
But I've gotten slower. The older I'm getting, the slower I'm getting.
Do you do this full time?
Yes.
Okay, so all day. Cool.
All day.
All day, every day.
All day, every day. I'm in coloring mode right now, so I'm just bored. I'm just sitting on my couch watching TV, coloring comics.
What are you watching lately?
I just watched Silicon Valley. My buddy gave me his HBO sign-in, so I am now...
I mean,
Oh,
I
wow.
pay for HBO like a normal person.
Well, yeah, I do as well.
Obviously.
Obviously. I have my own account on his thing, so it's not like I'm not like going in and be like, and I'm signing in as him. No, I have my
Are
own
we
account.
worried there are HBO execs listening?
You never can be too sure.
Listen, HBO, you have a wonderful product.
There we go. Anyway. So you finished Silicon Valley.
I finished Silicon Valley. I've been watching Barry.
Okay.
Barry's great. That's right up my alley.
Do you feel like you want to watch something that's a certain vibe that's helping you like in the zone? As
I want to watch
writing?
something that I don't have to watch. Barry is the exception.
Yeah.
So like, I'd watched Silicon Valley before. I'm watching Curb Your Enthusiasm because that's something I can just have on.
Yeah.
And it doesn't affect me. Typically, when I'm working, when I'm writing or drawing, I'm not watching anything. It's just either music or silence.
Yeah. So.
Do you do that when you're painting?
Yeah, from like the same as you. If I was doing something that was involving like typing or working on a website or creating or anything word-wise, then I would have to just listen to music. But if I was doing something that was just visual and just art, then I would love to listen to. Lately, I've been listening to podcasts, but I used to just watch the same things over and over again. So I would do a lot of South Park and I would do a lot of The Office. Just something that would be funny and you didn't have to look at.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
So in addition to writing and drawing your own things, you've collaborated with other people. So what has that process look like when you collaborate with people?
It depends on the person.
Okay.
I have worked with writers who give me like 5 sentences for a page. They're not giving me any dialogue. They're just giving me what's going on the page, next page. And I really like working that way. But there's a mutual trust that has to be established between the writer and the artist for that to happen. That's typically how I write for myself. It's just like, here's what's going on a page, or here's what's going on for a chunk. You'll figure it out. Writing Jamie is taking a break. But then I've also worked with writers who have extensive scripting, and that's a lot of reading. Reading and deciphering what is actually necessary for the page.
Yeah, do you
right?
feel constrained by that? I mean, like, do they get
super
detailed with, like,
on the writer.
This panel is this, and it's doing
Yeah.
like...
Sometimes, and that also depends on the writer. I've frequently collaborated with Vida Ayala, and they write very detailed scripts that I never feel overstep any bounds artistically. And if I ever have a question, I can just call V and everything is fine. Or I can just say, you're wrong. Like, that's just, you did this thing over here that we're going to take and make one panel, or we're going to add a beat and do something. And they're always very wanting that collaboration. Why work with an artist other than just, hey, draw my pictures, draw my words for me, if you're not going to have the collaboration, right? So V is very much like that. I've also worked with Stephanie Phillips. Stephanie has the best visual mind in her writing that she'll be like, oh yeah, and there's like a person coming down from the left, and they're talking this way, and it's leading your eye to this, and you're like, yeah, you're right. I don't have to think. Thanks.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that. So it really depends on the writer.
And generally, do you have, when you're collaborating, do you do character design, or is that something they've worked out already?
Typically, that is me, unless it's something for a bigger IP. But if I remember when I did Quarter Killer for it was a Comixology Originals line. The majority of when Vita and Danny were writing the scripts, I was just doing character sketches and color palettes and what is this book going to visually look like? Go.
Yeah. So have you ever drawn for like a book where you have to like hit a specific model and like draw on model for like a property? Yeah,
I did some stuff for the El Rey Network early on in my career. I also did a book for the National Women's Hockey League, which was draw these women.
Okay.
And that was also with the El Rey Network. It was for Lucha Underground, which is a television show. And it was like, draw these people.
Okay.
And the likenesses have to be right. And that kind of stuff. So.
Well, I know, like when Tim was in school at SCAD, like one of the things that other students would complain about in his classes is having to draw like Scooby-Doo and draw on model, and it's like, no, that's something you should probably know how to do, right?
Yeah,
right.
Like that'll come up sometimes in your career.
Like I mean, if you can get a job drawing Scooby, you're doing okay, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm gunning for Three Stooges now. That's
yeah. If you don't follow Jamie on his social media, you should do that because he puts up his drawings, and he just did a fabulous one of the Three Stooges today. That was quite excellent.
Amazing.
Yeah. Oftentimes I'm like, oh, I want that. That's okay.
Are you a big Three Stooges fan in general?
No, it's just I'm a fan of the art style more than anything else. Like it's just there's just something so classic about that. Like the ones that I really love that you put up have been like your pieces of Popeye. Like those are fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool.
Love those.
It's funny. This is the first year I've been doing this for about 8 years now. I've been in the industry for about 8 years. This is the first year that I have noticed the things I like and the things I want to draw. That's also what the audience wants. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh, we really like your Popeyes. Great. I could draw Popeye all day.
Yes,
oh, we
please.
like your Three Stooges. Great. I like drawing the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
Can I do that more? That's been kind of a revelation where stylistically, I guess old school drawing technique is like interesting to the zeitgeist now.
I guess.
Which I'm paying. I'll ride that train for the next 2 years when people realize that they want Rob Liefeld again.
Is that from the 40s? What era would that be? The two.
The
Like Popeye and the Three Stooges?
Pop, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, radio. Popeye is 30s.
Okay.
30s into 40s. I mean, Popeye spans
Popeye is timeless.
decades.
Yeah.
Popeye is now
I mean,
timeless.
Robin Williams movie was in the 80s.
Right, exactly. And then you have Three Stooges, which is, what, 50s, 60s? I don't know. Now
40s?
40s?
I think.
40, I mean, also, they span decades.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it's
That's
like,
kind
what
of a-
iteration of the Stooges are you
Right,
talking about?
Right. Which
Right.
group of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, which iteration of the Stooges are your favorite?
I really like Shep.
Okay.
I think, and I didn't draw him in the drawing I did.
yeah.
I did the
Noted.
original. I did the originals.
Melissa's holding out for Shep.
But yeah,
He does have the best name.
yes.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
Do you also like the Marx Brothers?
I love the Marx Brothers.
Okay.
I love the Marx Brothers. I love Laurel and Hardy.
Yeah.
That's kind of the stuff that I gravitate to is that
Yeah.
old stuff. Buster Keaton's my favorite
Okay. Yeah.
comedian of, I guess,
Of your?
maybe of your comedian of yours, Buster Keaton.
Yeah, sure.
That's probably going to be tomorrow's sketch. Is Buster?
nice. All right.
So.
You heard it here. Well, I think maybe now would be a good time
Okay.
to take a little break.
Yeah, everybody stay tuned. We're going to have a few station announcements.
You are listening to WRUULP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with a global soul.
Trees are one of Chatham County's most treasured natural resources. Beyond their beauty and cultural significance, the impact of trees are far-reaching and compounding, spanning from economic benefits to health improvements to climate change resilience. Trees are woven into every aspect of our lives. Savannah Tree Foundation protects and grows Chatham County's urban forest through tree planting, community engagement, and advocacy. More information is available at savannahtree.org. This portion of WRUU's programming is brought to you by listeners and by Brighter Day Natural Foods. Brighter Day Natural Foods has been serving Savannah's healthy food and supplement needs since 1978. It is located at the corner of Bull Street and Park Avenue. They have online ordering and curbside delivery available, and now a walk-up window for smoothies, juices, and sandwiches from the deli. They are open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday. More information can be found at brighterdayfoods.com.
What does it mean when we say that WRUU is a community radio station? It doesn't just mean that we invite the community to create programming, and it doesn't just mean that we're a voice for the community. It also means that we're counting on the community to keep us going, and you are the community. Almost all of our modest budget comes from small annual or monthly donations from listeners like you. You get to enjoy our community-focused programming because many others have stepped forward to do their part. Now do your part by joining our community of listener donors. Go to WRUU.org right now and make a one-time or monthly donation. And thank you for supporting Savannah's community radio station, 107.5 FM.
Hey, welcome back to Art on the Air. This is Tamara and Melissa, and we're here with Jamie Jones interviewing about his comic booking.
I like comic booking as a verb. Yeah.
The comic book.
I would like to say, so Melissa is very experienced with this field, and I am going to represent the segment of the population that doesn't know too much. She's married to a professional comic booker.
Yeah, well, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, sure. I'm mildly versed in comic booking. I'm not a full-on professional.
That makes me wonder, is it appropriate to say comic book or sequential art? Is there a difference to those?
So, it depends on who you're asking.
A graphic novel. Comics.
So I like comics.
Yeah.
I like comics as a term.
Okay.
Because we have novels and like prose, right? There's prose, there's art, there's comics.
Yeah.
When you get into the semantics of what is a comic, this is a graphic novel, this is a comic book. I don't see. There's my radio. I don't really like the way those things sound.
Is it length? Is that because that's what I would think. I would think a comic book is small.
No, that's part of the problem.
No, you'd be wrong.
So that's part of the problem. I've always.
Oh, you made him take his glasses off. Like, this is getting real.
To the side of people who don't know about comics, let's go real deep.
I told you this is what I was coming from.
No, this is a thing that we talk about in comics all the time. I have a problem. Once you start doing interviews
You
with a
do
bunch
have
of
a
people,
problem.
that's true.
Stop there.
When you do a bunch of interviews for comic book journalism, comics journalism, everyone has different words for the exact same thing, and I have a big problem with that. And part of that is, what do we call the medium? And it's comics, right? I feel like the better you get at comics, the less you care about the terminology. And we also, we call it sequential art, which I guess is technically true.
Yeah.
But what do you call, what is Family Circus? Right? Is Family
comic strip?
It's just a comic.
Yeah.
Right? Well, it's a single image.
Yeah, I mean, it's the circle. It's a comic circle.
It's the circle, right?
Isn't that Billy running through the yard, through the hedge, and leaving a trail?
Yeah.
Okay.
Marmaduke does a thing.
Yeah.
That's just a single image comic.
Yeah.
Does that, if we're calling it sequential art,
Because there's
is
no
that
sequence.
sequential? There is no sequence, right?
Interesting. Okay.
So does that constitute as a comic? Scott McCloud, who wrote
How to understand
Understanding Comics,
Yeah.
would argue no, it's not a comic. It is a single image. It's an illustration. So that's where we start to differ. Just as a form, comics has no unified vernacular, and it's. If I ever want to, I threatened to go back to school to get a degree in entertainment rhetoric to write a book on comics.
You should do it.
Gosh, I got things to do.
I'm coloring.